it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my July wrap-up. I read about 12 books this month, so I might split up this wrap-up into 2 parts, but we'll have to wait and see. I talked about some of these books in my Friday Reads video, which I did earlier this month. I'll link it down below or in a card in case you guys want to see it. I won't go into too much depth about those books, since I've already talked about them, but let's just jump right into it. The first book I read this month was Infinity by Jus Accardo. This book follows a girl named Corey, who's the daughter of an army general. And since Corey's dad has a busy job, Corey's dad travels a lot for his job, and every time he's out of town, he leaves someone to look after Corey, and this time he's sent a guy named Cade to look after Corey. However, Corey slowly learns that her dad isn't an army general at all. He's the head of a government organization that helps people travel to alternate dimensions. When Corey meets Cade and the guy that Cade brought with him named Noah, Corey learns that an alternate version of her was killed in their dimension, and Cade and Noah are after the guy that killed Corey in their world. This guy is determined to kill Corey in every dimension out of revenge. The main character, Corey, that we meet is caught up in this scandal since someone is determined to kill her. Cade was in a relationship with the Corey from his world, and Noah is Corey's older brother. But in this reality, Corey never had a brother or a boyfriend named Cade. I like the relationship that develops between Corey and Cade in this book, and I also like the friendship that Corey and Noah build with each other in this book as well. The world in this book is fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. I believe I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This was a really interesting start to the trilogy, for sure. Because I needed to wait for the other books in the trilogy, I ended up picking a book called Arclight by Josin McQuein. I talked about this book in my Friday Reads video as well, and I didn't like it very much. This book follows a main character who lives in a world called the Arclight. The Arclight is a place that is between the light and the darkness. In this world, people can't go outside because they're afraid of being destroyed by the Fade. The Fade are monsters who have basically destroyed the world, and no one has ever gone into the darkness and come back from it, except for the main character. This book basically starts off when the main character meets this boy at school that saves her from a Fade attack, and it's clear that the main character and this love interest are supposed to have a relationship, but to me it felt like insta-love, and that their connection wasn't really believable at all. So that's one reason why I didn't like the book. The second reason was that the world wasn't really developed and it was very vague, so there wasn't really much development in the story or the characters or the world. I also thought the plot moved too quickly, and because of that, there wasn't really any room for character development. The characters were poorly developed, and the world building was just very basic and vague. I didn't really like it that much at all, which is why I gave this book 2 stars. The next book I read was Omega. This is the second book in the Infinity Division trilogy, and this book follows 2 other characters. This book is told from the perspective of Noah and a girl he likes named Ashlyn. In this world, it seems Ashlyn is Noah's constant, the person he can count on meeting in every alternate dimension, regardless of what his circumstances are. Ash's best friend Noah recently died, and when she meets the Noah from this reality, the Noah that we're familiar with from the previous book, she doesn't know what to think, and she comes to think that there's some conspiracy surrounding this other Noah's death. So Noah and Ash need to figure out what's going on. Also, Corey and Cade make a reappearance in this book, and they help Noah and Ash discover what's going on. Also, a relationship develops between Ash and Noah. I loved how her relationship developed. Noah is a quiet guy, and he's a bad boy with a sweet side. I loved his character. There's tension between Ash and Noah from the beginning of this book, and I loved all the tension in between them. It made the romance between them that much gripping. And Noah is a nice character, despite the fact that Ashlyn sometimes gets on his nerves. The next book I read was Alpha by Jus Accardo. This is the final book in the Infinity Division trilogy, and this is a YA sci-fi trilogy. This book follows two other characters, named Sarah and G. Even though the books in this series are told by two different characters each book, all three books follow the same story, so you have to read these books in order. This book is following G, who's been a participant in a project called Alpha, which is a scientific project that creates super soldiers. And the antagonist in this trilogy is at the head of Project Alpha. So all of the characters, including Sarah and G, need to stop the antagonist once and for all. A romance develops between Sarah and G, and I did like their relationship, but I felt disconnected from them as characters in comparison to the other two books in the trilogy. That being said, I still enjoyed the story and the action-packed, fast pace of the plot. This book was a great end to the trilogy, and I enjoyed the two epilogues at the end of this book. It wrapped up all the characters' stories nicely. Even though I didn't like this book as much as the other two, I still enjoyed it. Next up, I read Did I Mention I Love You by Estelle Maskame. This is the first book in a YA contemporary trilogy, and it follows these two characters named Eden Monroe and Tyler Bruce. Eden just expects to have a summer of fun with her friends at the beach, but that changes when she moves to Santa Monica with her father for the summer. She hasn't seen her father in 3 years. He's divorced Eden's mom, he's remarried, and now Eden has 3 new stepbrothers, one of them being Tyler Bruce. Eden can't stand Tyler when she meets him, but when Eden and Tyler keep being thrown together through their group of friends, Eden gets to know Tyler more, and as she gets to know him, her feelings for him change. But Eden feels weird about it because you aren't supposed to fall in love with your stepbrother. That's weird. So Eden and Tyler have to navigate a relationship with each other. I did like this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I was intrigued by Tyler from the very beginning, since he's an angry, moody male character, and I love male characters who are moody. So I was hooked on him from the very beginning, and I liked seeing how Eden and Tyler's relationship changed as the story progressed. Naturally, I read Did I Mention I Miss You by Estelle Maskame. This is the second book in the trilogy. Tyler has recently invited Eden out to New York for the summer at his apartment. It's been a year since Eden and Tyler have seen each other, and even though they've agreed to stay apart, when Eden gets to New York, old feelings resurface, and she finds her feelings for Tyler are returning. I liked seeing the ups and downs of their relationship in this book, and I liked the new characters that were introduced in this second book. They seem like cool friends of Tyler's. When Eden first gets to New York, she's jealous of Tyler's friend named Emily because she thought that she and Tyler were together, so her behavior towards Emily at the beginning is a little ridiculous, since she's jealous of Emily, even though Tyler has told Eden that nothing is going on between them. So at this part of the book, I did find Eden's behavior to be a little annoying at times, but overall, I did enjoy the new characters that were introduced, and I did like to see the progression of Tyler and Eden's relationship. There was so much angst and tension in between them in this second book. This second book ends on a cliffhanger once again, so I was chomping at the bit to read Did I Mention I Miss You? This is the third book in the trilogy. Tyler left Eden at the end of the second book, so it's been about a couple of years since they've had any contact. When they come back together again, Tyler is determined to fix his relationship with Eden and show her the life that he's been leading the past couple of years. He thinks that he can just waltz in and everything to be okay and for everything to go back to the way it was. But this isn't the case. So Eden had to decide if Tyler is worth fighting for, and if their relationship is worth salvaging. I would have to say out of the whole trilogy, I enjoyed the third book the most, since Tyler and Eden finally do get their happy ending. And I just loved the growth and maturity that we see in Tyler in this third book. I think I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. This was an awesome conclusion to the trilogy. There's recently been a 4th book published as a companion to this trilogy, and it's from Tyler's perspective. I believe it follows the events of the first summer when Tyler and Eden met, just from his perspective. I also think that in this book we get to see things that we didn't get to see in the first book of this trilogy, like glimpses of Tyler's past. I'm really interested in checking out his fourth book in the series at some point. Next up, I read The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This book ended up being available from my library early, so I snatched it up. This is the first book in a YA fantasy series, and nearly everyone on BookTube knows about this series. This book basically follows a princess who is engaged to be married in an arranged marriage to this prince from another kingdom, but the main character isn't interested in marrying this prince that she doesn't know, so the main character flees with her best friend to another town to start a life as a barmaid. However, because this princess named Leah didn't marry the prince, there's this feud with her kingdom and another kingdom that is still going on, and because of that, an assassin has been sent out to kill the princess. And as the story progresses, the reader doesn't know which character is the prince and which character is the assassin. This book did have a slow start to it, so it took me a while to get into the story and the characters, but once the story got going, I was completely hooked on it. The kingdom that the princess belongs to is at war with the Venda kingdom, and this assassin is from the Venda kingdom. I made a guess as to which character was the prince and which character is the assassin before it was revealed, so I wasn't surprised as to which character was which, since I made the guess beforehand, so I wasn't really surprised by that. I liked the relationship that develops between Leah, the princess, and the prince named Rafe. I thought that they had a sweet romance with each other. Leah as a main character seems like a strong character, and she's not afraid to share her opinions or do something different if she doesn't like something. I also liked Caden, who is the assassin in this first book. He does seem like he has a rough exterior, but it seems like he has a sweet side to him. Once the story got going, the plot moved at a steady pace. The conclusion to his book was shocking and surprising. I wasn't expecting it, and it provided a good setup for the rest of the books in the trilogy. So because of that reveal at the end of the book, I'm curious to see how the story continues. The main character, Leah, has a special ability as well, but this first book didn't really develop that storyline, so I'm curious to see if we'll learn more about Leah and her abilities in the next books, and I'm just curious to see more of the politics and intrigue in this world. Hopefully those things will develop as the trilogy continues. After reading The Kiss of Deception, I wasn't really in the mood to continue the trilogy right away. The next book I picked up is Emblaze by Jessica Shirvington. This is the first book in a YA paranormal fantasy series, and it follows this girl named Violet Eden. Violet is a teen who discovers that she's part angel, part human. Violet's mother died in childbirth, and she learns that her mom may have also been a Grigori angel. That's what the angels are called in this book. The Grigori do have enemies, and their enemy are called exiles. Since Violet's mother died, it's always just been her and her dad. But her dad isn't really into parenting that much. Violet has a best friend named Lincoln, who she's really close to. Violet learns that Lincoln lied to her though, and that her whole life has been a lie, since he didn't tell her that he is also Grigori and part of this angel world. Violet is upset with Lincoln through the majority of this book, until she meets Phoenix. Phoenix happens to be in exile. As the story progresses, something happens to one of the main characters that leaves Violet no choice but to embrace. And when Violet embraces, she becomes part of this angel world, becomes part of this destiny. But up until then, Violet isn't interested in being a part of this angel world. So this first book has Violet wrestling with that. Violet also has feelings for Lincoln, but he's never returned these feelings. And when Violet's upset with Lincoln, she starts growing feelings for Phoenix. I liked his book. The world building in it is interesting and very intriguing, but I felt that this book relied too much on the romance or the love triangle between Violet, Lincoln, and Phoenix, and because of that I only gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I did like Violet as a character. She is strong and really opinionated. She doesn't really take crap from anyone, but I did find her behavior annoying at certain parts in this book. Also, the love triangle kind of weighed this book down in my opinion, but I still liked it nonetheless. The love triangle was written well, and it made it a very addicting read. That's why I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I picked up was Emblaze by Jus Accardo. This is the second book in this series. Violet is a stronger character. She's accepted her destiny as part angel, part human, and she's stronger in terms of her power. One rule in this world, though, is that every Gregory has a partner. Violet and Lincoln happen to be partners, but partners aren't allowed to be romantically involved. Given what happened in the last book, Violet is no longer interested in Phoenix. She's always had feelings for Lincoln, so there's romantic tension between Violet and Lincoln in this book. I liked the romantic tension between Violet and Lincoln in this book, but I do have to say, I don't think the romance took over the story quite as much, and this book was mostly focused on the new characters that were introduced, and it was more focused on the plot and adventure for the characters. Even though the romance was still a big part in this book, it didn't take as much of a focus as it did in the first one. Because of that, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The second book mostly revolves around the characters wanting to find these scriptures that tell more of the Gregory history. And the final book I read in July was Emblaze. This is the third book in this series, and there continues to be more tension between Violet and Lincoln. There's so much tension between Violet and Lincoln in this book that it's uncomfortable for Violet to be around him, even though she firmly believes that him and Violet are soulmates. Now that the characters have the scriptures that they want, Violet's best friend has to work on decoding them. The scriptures foretell a prophecy that involves Violet and something bad that might happen to her. So the plot in this book revolves around the characters preventing this prophecy from coming true. I also enjoyed the fact that Violet's dad took a more active role in this book. I'm curious to see how Violet and the relationship with her dad can improve in this series going forward. There's so many relationship dynamics left to explore in this series that I can't wait to continue. Phoenix does reappear in this third book, and he does have an interesting role. Even though he does love Violet, I don't think he's worthy of being in a relationship with her yet, but I'm curious to see how his character will evolve later on in the series. Those are all of the books that I read in July. Comment down below and tell me what's your favorite book that you read in July. If you guys want to see more videos from me, I'll put some videos up on the screen in case you guys want to check those out. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.